Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome founder and managing director, Baraka, Muna Haddad.
Hi. So I never thought I'd be working in tourism. Sort of stumbled upon it. My first job was working for the Jordan Tourism Board many years ago. I did that for a few years, absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the sector, with the industry, and everything that we get to do. And after some time doing that, I was getting a little frustrated. I realized, so this is where Jordan is. And during my time working there, I really fell in love with Jordan, got to experience it and see it through the eyes of tourists, hearing the stories through their eyes, and it was really an incredible opportunity to see that and to get to appreciate and love my country that way. But what I realized was that people were coming into the country to see Petra and to see all these historical sites. But they were leaving talking about the people and the stories of the people that they met in these encounters along the way. But then there was a bit of frustration that happened during that time, is that I would see that tourists are coming in, exploring these sites, having an incredible time, and leaving very little behind for the people of the country. And I was also getting a little frustrated to see and to listen to whose stories were actually being told. And a lot of the time, it was the outsiders coming in, developing hotels, developing experiences. It was their stories that were being told through the travel experience. So I quit my job, took some time off, and I traveled around for over a year, and I started doing research on the impacts of tourism and tracking down the economic impact. Where is the money actually going? And whose story is being told? And that's when it all came together. I was going to change the world. I was going to come back to Jordan, set up this company, Baraka, and we were going to do consulting. And through consulting, we were going to change the world, working with governments and NGOs and private sector and really getting them to change their strategy, change how they do tourism. Naive. So we started to change the world one document at a time. And I realized that we had to do something different. And I realized that there was a very big gap between the world of development and the world of business. The business world didn't see their role in development, and the development world didn't see their role in the business, and how important it is to have both going hand in hand. And so we came up with a new model. We said we had to build it and show people what we're talking about. We have to prove that you can run a viable business, a profitable business, that also has positive impacts for the communities that tourism exists in. And so we created Baraka Destinations. So this was the culprit, the first location, the pilot project. We picked the village of Qais, all the way in the north of the country, with a population of 7,000 people. It's an incredible historical site, very important to Jordan. Although not very well visited, it's also home to beautiful landscapes and to the last remaining deciduous oak forest in Jordan. Say that 3 times in a row. But I think the most special thing for me about this village is the vibe that's there, the people, right? You wake up to the sound of a rooster in the morning, and you walk in the streets, and everybody's inviting you over for tea. It's very hospitable. It's really a beautiful village, and we thought this is a great place to start. Tourists that are going to this village, we're spending on average 2 hours maximum on site. They'll come in, zoom through the archaeological site, and then leave on their buses, rarely spending time in the village, rarely meeting the people or talking to them. And most importantly, the story that was being told to them through their guides and information panels was historical stories that were written about centuries old, about generations and civilizations that have long gone. And the story of the people of Qais was never told. No one gets to hear that. So that was our first location. In our model, we actually go literally door to door and collect the story of the village. The people of the village should have the opportunity to tell their own version of it. So we met with 60 different households, sitting down, having a cup of tea with them, talking. Hi, my name is Muna. This is my story. This is why I do what I do. What's your story? And then going to the next house and hearing their story. And once we collected these 60 stories, we found a common thread between all of them. And that was going to become the story of the village. But then how do we create an experience out of that? How do we communicate the story to travelers? We went into partnerships. Can I go a slide back, please? In our model, we go into partnerships with community members. So we identify the first leaders, the crazy ones that bought our idea and wanted to do this with us. And we go into partnerships with them. We invest in them. We set up an experience with them. We curate the experience down to the last detail. What are tourists going to be smelling? What are they going to be seeing? What are they going to be doing minute by minute? And we curate an experience with them and train them on it and purchase everything they need for it and set it all up as a micro business. They should be doing that, right? People in their own towns, in their own tourism destinations should be the ones driving business forward. And so we create these partnerships and go in, and we operate the businesses with them from 3 to 5 years, and then we hand over the businesses to them. So by the time we leave, the destination is actually being operated and run by micro-enterprises that are locally owned. And I want you to meet them. So these are the first ones that have been working with us, and they're getting to tell their stories about their village through tourism. So this is Ahmed. Ahmed runs Philidimas Camp. He runs a camping and hiking operation. There are 9 hiking routes he takes guests on. He takes them foraging in his town where his family still have fields there. He takes them olive harvesting as well and gets to tell them stories about how he grew up doing this and what his family does. And this is Galsoom. She calls herself Suleiman. Suleiman invites guests to her house to have a local meal, all farm to table. She gets to share her culture and tell stories about how, for generations, her family have been making these very unique dishes to the village in the north. This is Yusuf. Yusuf he's a veteran, but an incredible beekeeper as well. He's completely in love with his bees, and he's been talking about them. He's been really involved in this since he was 6 years old. And now he runs a business where guests come and spend 2 hours with him, learning about beekeeping, getting all suited up, coming up close and personal, and he gets to share stories about his passion, but at the same time, he gets to share incredible stories about flora in that area and the diversity and the biodiversity in the area that he calls home. This is Alia. Alia is a basket weaver. This is a tradition that's been there for many generations and nearly dying. You can sit with Alia and learn for a couple of hours how to weave your own baskets and take them home with you. And this is Ala. Ala runs Jadara Cycling. This is a cycling experience where guests can go into the fields, the wheat fields in the village there, and again, hear about how he used to use the space and how he used to play here and the history of his family in this area. And to bring it all together, we all of a sudden realized that we've got so many experiences that tourists can spend up to 4 days in this place. They don't actually need to be there for 2 hours. So we needed to bring it all together with an accommodation. And so we developed Beit al-Baraka, which translates to the House of Blessings. All of the furniture in the place was made by local craftsmen. And the breakfast is quite popular. The breakfast is also farm to table, all coming from the village. Ladies, our neighbors, are contributing to it by making jams. And it's quite a spread. But we had to bring it all together with this accommodation. And now we realized that we want to do more. We need to take this a step further. It's great that everybody is coming, or the tourists coming in are really getting to enjoy this experience. But we needed to take it a step further and said, what else can we do? How can we close the circle and localize the supply chain as well? So we started working with our suppliers too. We started working with farmers, with shepherds, and training them, upgrading what they're doing, investing in them, and helping them set up their operation to the standard where we can start buying from them as well, so that we close this entire circle, and tourists coming to this village are benefiting specifically the people of the village. The thing is, it works. It works. It's making money for us, for the village. It's good business. So there have been, since we've opened, there's been over 2,000 tourists coming in. But what's important about this number is not the fact that there are 2,000, but how much time they're actually spending in the village. And the time went from being 2 hours to being 2 days. where they're really getting to enjoy the place, really sit down, get to know the locals, and leave the benefit behind for the locals as well. And we've seen incredible growth, 300% growth. And this number is quite important to us as well, is that there are 91 locals benefiting from this operation, from this experience. And they're making real money. They're making an income. They're spending their money on their families. They're putting their kids through school. And we get to see this. And I really wish that I can bring this story to you today, because we're there on the front lines, and we're seeing the power of travel. We're really seeing the impact that it could have on people's lives. And I really hope that we can bring these stories to you to remind you the power of the industry we're in. I think the most important thing that we're very proud of, which is really hard to measure, is the fact that we've changed the storytellers. And it's no longer outsiders coming in and talking about ancient civilizations. It's, again, reminding us of the power of travel. Our industry is an industry of validation. Once a traveler comes to a village and speaks to a local and hears their story, it's a tool for validation. I see you, I hear you, your story matters, your existence matters, your village matters. And all of a sudden, we start realizing that travel is so much more than just having a great time. It really has an incredible impact. And so we're very proud of this, because now the story of Qais comes through to travelers. And when long ago they felt like people were zooming in and out of their village, they're now stopping and listening. We're taking that to the next level as well. I wanted to share with you a project we worked on this year. We launched the Meaningful Map of Jordan in partnership with Tourism Cares and the Jordan Tourism Board. And this was an initiative where we literally wanted to put social enterprises or tourism businesses that are doing good. We wanted to put them quite literally on the map. I think a lot of us consider, we all want to do good, right? We all have good intentions. But sometimes we do it as a charity. And what we're trying to prove here is that business can be good. Just drive your business to these places by buying a meal at a home-owned business, or by signing up for an experience with a locally owned company. You're already doing good. That is the impact of our industry, and it shouldn't be a charity. It should be based as a viable business, as proper business, and it should be profitable for everybody involved. So we're very proud of this map, and we think it's a really good tool. It's a starting point, but a really good tool to bring the attention of the travel industry. How can we all be a force for good? I hope that, that this inspires you to think of your businesses and what can you do, and making that decision to take tourists to that restaurant and not the other one, or making sure that you're spending enough time in the places you visit. We can all make responsible choices to become part of the change. Thank you.